What's good, everybody? So I wanted to jump in here for a minute and try to answer a good question that I think a lot of people are talking about in these last few days. I was watching a video by Dr. T. Hassan Johnson talking about, and it was he was doing a reaction to a guy named Richard Reeves and other individuals talking about, the dilemma with men, with boys and men. What has happened to men? And I think that this is a good question. My daughter came over, thought she's going to interrupt my walk, or she wanted to come with me. Either one. And we had a discussion about, where are the good men at? What happened to the good men? And she's in her 20s, and she's like, there's a dearth of men. They're not up to par, right? Or if they are up to par, they don't want to settle down because they know that they're the ish, right? They know they got the option, so they don't want to get married. So you got a crop of men who can't get any dates. You got a crop of men who have too many dates, right? And then somewhere else in the middle is some guys who just want to get a date and have somebody decent to come in contact with and all that. So what has happened to men? And I think that this is something that the guy named Richard Reeves has been talking about, the panel discussion that he was on, and what Dr. Chiasan Johnson has been talking about. I think we're trying to figure this out, and we gotta kind of come to grips with this and what's going on and what has happened. So I think there's a few forces here. I think that yes, women are bossed up, leveled up to a certain level and degree, and for a number of reasons, whether it's the lack of viability by men, by their more open opportunities that feminism, yes, has brought into par. I think, and so there's got to be some type of acknowledgement that men have not gone to the great lengths and gotten to the same opportunities that women have. Now, I'm still exploring why that is. Is it that men have not had the opportunities or are not taking advantage of the opportunities? I'm not sure. I'm reading a lot of stuff, watching a lot of stuff, trying to figure all that out as to what's really going on. But what is, I listen to, I'm not an educator, but one thing I do know, and I know this from my time, from my own studies when I was getting my degree, is that there's a definite problem with the education system. Now, I am not qualified enough to say whether it's truly rigged in favor of women, but there's a problem when a number of boys, particularly black young boys, are not reading on reading level. I was watching something today, a little earlier. It said at no time in human history, and I think it might have been a little loose with the wordings, verbiage, but certainly in U.S. history, people my age, children are doing worse than their parents at their same ages. The parents are doing better than the children are at their particular ages. Sometimes parents are living longer. Sometimes parents are making more money. They have access to more resources, right? Children are still living at home because they can't afford to move out. And this has been a problem, right? And my daughter was asking me, in the conversation we had, what do you think's going to happen? Almost as if we're anticipating another January 6th type of situation. That concerns me because when you don't have young men who are viable and in the workforce, then they feel as if they only have one alternative, right? And you look back on different revolts, uprisings throughout history, it's been men who have been discontent with the fight, particularly with the financial situation. Men are motivated to create families and to do everything that they're going to do because they're going to get a family at the end of it. And if you don't have a family at the end of it, at the end of the rainbow, why are you going to go to college and spend all this money, go into all this debt, if you don't have a job that's going to be worth it at the end? So I think that we really got to take a good hard look at what is going on in this environment. It's an interesting phenomenon, considering that uh, parents are doing better than their children. Uh, the price is so high that one family income can't really cut it in the U.S. anymore. College, depending on what your major is, may or may not be worth it. It's really an interesting time. It's an interesting time, and the reaction that we're seeing going on, right? Also, I think that you know, I don't want to dig too much into the women because I want to keep this about what men need to do. But I was watching this video. It was a short little clip about the balloon pop show, and this woman, she had rejected a police officer or sheriff's deputy or something like that. She popped her balloon, and then when they schooled on her, asked her why she popped the balloon, she was like, "I just want to keep code, right? I want to everybody else popped their balloon, right? So maybe something I'm missing or whatever. I just want to keep the code." So I think that there's a lot of that going on. Men who may be viable, but because they are not tall enough or make over six figures, are being overlooked because of the social contagion of I got to keep up with the Joneses, right? Other women say that this man is lesser, so I don't want to be seen as being a lesser woman by having a lesser man on my arm or being on his arm. I think that there's a little bit of that going on, right? You got to be over 6 feet and all this kind of stuff, right? So all this type of stuff, and this is stuff that again that Richard Reeves in his analysis was bringing up, or other people have brought up, right? The high heels. I think it was Richard Reeves, but anyway, I watch so much stuff, right? So this Richard Reeves or whatever, this high heels effect that the women are going higher and higher. Their standards are going to continue to get higher and higher. So the question is again, what has happened to all the good men? Where are they gone? Are they not being made? I think there's a lot of that going on. As I've talked about in many other videos that I've done, is the men have to be made. And you have to put your son, your boy into school, into schools with boys, allow them to play sports, allow them to get beat up, fall out of trees, right? And this seems to be very, very unpopular with people, but I think it's a truth. And you have to let boys be made. And this attempt to keep boys from being made, try to safeguard them and bubble wrap them from society, is not it. I think that the push to make more boys more in touch with their feelings is backfiring. Not because I don't think that boys should be in touch with their feelings, but the men, I believe, should be stoic. They should be able to take control and have control of their emotions. And I think that they need to have healthy outlets for those emotions. But that, I don't think that that should come. I don't think that that should come talking to a woman. To their woman. I don't think that that should. I don't think that that should be. I don't think that that should be the norm. I just don't. I don't think that that's healthy for their relationship. I've talked to personally so many women who say, as soon as they see their man cry or panic or become emotional, that they're all interest in them is gone from that perspective of a romantic interest. So I think that that really has to be taken into consideration. So those are things that I think that we really need to work on concerning what's going on with men. And where have all the good men gone? So I think that number one, there is an effect of more women in the workforce, more women going to college, bossing up, and for whatever reason, men have not kept up with that. I'm not sure if we're ready to say the exact meaning or reason for that. I have talked to a number of scholars, I've read a number of articles talking about the inconsistencies or the inherent inconsistency is the wrong word, the inherent nature of modern day education and it not being suited for boys. So many black boys, in particular black boys, but all boys are being settled down with Ritalin in their learning styles because they're more tactile and more uh, rambunctious, as being seen as some type of disease, disorder, ADHD, etc. I think that's problematic. I think that that's really problematic. So there's a lot of, I think that, boys need to be taught by young boys and all this. And again, masculinity and boyhood and manhood has to be celebrated and praised instead of something that is only relegated to picking things up, putting them down, moving furniture, or shooting someone when the war starts. I think that we got to be more than that, and it should be appreciated at all times. And I think that men need healthy outlets for it, right? Whether it's jujitsu or boxing or hunting in the woods. Not that I'm so much in favor of shooting innocent animals, but do something to keep your thrive and your drive and aggression using it in a healthy way. I'd rather you do, martial arts or something like that, or, compete in a marathon or, weightlifting competitions or something like that. Or maybe just, muscle cars. Do something, right? I say that in lieu of hunting, but that's my opinion. So what happened to men? So women have been bossing up, men have not kept pace, and there's a number of reasons for that. I think another thing that we have to take a look at is we're not making men. The man-making factory has been closed for some time now, and I hope that at some point it'll be reinstituted. Education system, and then and then finally the men who are making it don't want to get married, right? So we gotta, we gotta push marriage. And as my daughter confessed this. She's like, listen, if you're a guy and you got it going on between height and money, why would you? She said, why would you get married? They're all chasing the same guy. And then she said, the guys who don't have it, maybe on a scale of, maybe they're a 6 or 5, 6, or 7, or relatively average guys. She's like, they'll dog you out too. So if I'm going to get dogged out, I'm going to get dogged out by the guy who's rich. At least he bought me stuff. So I think we got to take a look. I think we got to take a long look at what we're doing, how we're going to get there, and what the problem is, and really come to a consensus as to what this problem is. And if it's a lack, if we can come to a consensus that the lack of traditional men, strong men, is because they're not being made, then we have to make a concerted effort to make them. We have to make a concerted effort to make these types of men. That means that we are going to make sure that they go to all male schools where they're taught by the majority of males, that we are going to celebrate masculinity and manhood and not to call everything toxic. We're going to create healthy outlets for them to express their opinions and their emotions. We're going to teach them about how to have self-mastery and to not be emotional and to be stoic and to make good, tough, rational decisions. I think that we need to look at all those types of things. And then as part of our teaching and making them men is to teach them what family is and what that means. And to be dedicated and to be keepers of their word and promises, right? So that means if you say you're going to, be a father and a husband, that means that is your goal in life, to be a father and husband, and to be a protector and provider for your brood and for your family. And nothing and no one should come in front of that. And not another woman and not your job, right? So all of this, I think that these are some of the things that we can answer as to where have all the good men gone. I think that they have not been made. I think there's been a priority emphasis on ladies. I think that there has been a de-emphasis and sort of a feminization that has gone on, and deliberately making boys lesser and weaker. than what their full potential is. And those are the things that I think that I have read. And I'm not a scholar on this 100%, but it is something that I have been researching because I teach leadership, and because when I was going from a master's degree in psychology, forensic psychology, trying to understand why people commit crimes, it was something that I looked into. I teach criminology now, and it's an important topic to have and to discuss. It's an important topic to have and to discuss. So, um, so what do I say? What do I say to fix this situation for the temporary? Men have to be made. If you are a man in your 40s, I think that you should mentor younger individuals, and that's why I'm doing this podcast, to try to get the message out. Number one, I think that I talked about before, we need aunts and uncles, aunties and uncles who are reaching back and trying to school the next generation of people about how to become the best versions of themselves. I think that we need to celebrate masculinity, manhood, roughness, toughness. Let the boys be boys. Let them play outside, fall out of trees, and teach them how to change tires and build forts and all that stuff that we did as Generation X. I think that we need to do all that once again. I think that we need to, again, celebrate boys, manhood, put them in all male schools and give them self-defense classes, teach them how to shoot weapons, change tires, uh, jiu-jitsu, boxing, swimming, give them something to do, sports, football. And even I celebrate, I may catch a lot of flack for this, but I don't think that everybody has to be a super masculine type of boy, right? If your boy enjoys opera or something like that, let him do it. Let them do it, right? These actors, if you ever watch these actors, right? The Marvel MCU can be a place where people will look and see, man, I want to be like these people, right? I want to be like Wolverine. I want to be like Captain America. I want to be like Iron Man, right? Smart, intelligent, still getting the girls, rich, billionaire, still in shape, and all that kind of stuff, right? Those are the types of people we want to be like, right? But if you look at these actors off stage, they don't have this overpowering macho presence, right? They're soft-spoken guys and all this kind of stuff. So I don't think that you have to be the super tough, rough, macho type of dude. I really don't think that. But you still should be able to protect. And there's a guy whose name is Dr. Jordan Peterson. He says, and I agree with this sentiment. You should be capable of violence. Now, you shouldn't be violent. Shouldn't go around hurting people, but you should be capable of it. And you should be capable of hurting people, capable of defending people, capable of defending yourself and your family. That's what I think a lot of ladies are looking for. And I'm not saying to be a bully, go out there and start trouble. I don't know. No, don't start trouble. Don't start fights. If you see something popping off, find out where your family is. Let's get out of here, right? That's protection. But there's a difference between let's get out of here because we're going to avoid the situation, and backing down when somebody confronts you and your family and all that. So you ought to be capable of defending yourself and your family.
Difference between letting people do something for themselves and saying men should be dangerous. By dangerous, that implies I should be ready to threaten someone, to hurt somebody.
No, you should be capable of it, but that doesn't mean you should use it. There's nothing to you otherwise. Like if you're not a formidable force, there's no morality in your self-control. If you're incapable of violence, not being violent isn't a virtue. People who teach martial arts know this full well, right? If you learn a martial art, you learn to be dangerous, but simultaneously you learn to control it. Both of those come together. And the combination of that capacity for danger and the capacity for control is what brings about the virtue. Otherwise you confuse weakness with moral virtue. I'm harmless, therefore I'm good. It's like, no, that isn't how it works. That isn't how it works at all. If you're harmless, you're just weak. And if you're weak, you're not going to be good. You can't be, because it takes strength to be good. It's very difficult to be good.
So those are just some of my thoughts about where have all the good men gone. I think that it had not been made. Oh, and also let me just finish this off with where they're gone. Is I think the passport bros is SYSBM, men going their own way, MGTOW, men going their own way, save yourself, black man, SYSBM. There's another one out there, and passport bros is one I'm forgetting. All these different kind of hashtags and all that kind of stuff, the whole red pill movement. I think that this is a reaction to men who have felt feminized, emasculated in some way or sense, and and it's a reaction to it, right? And they're going overseas because they want a different type of woman, and and so I think that needs to be looked at too. Is, why would you go overseas and there's plenty, there's millions of women here, but so I think that that's part of the question that has to be answered, is why these men feel overlooked, and feel as if they need to do something differently. And if the simple answer is because they want to be controlling because they don't have any money, then I think that is an unsophisticated and erroneous way of trying to answer a very complex problem. Because they obviously have the money to go overseas. If you take a look at many of their pictures, they are not out of shape fat dudes who can't, perform physically and whatever, right? They're guys who have remote jobs, who have access to some type of capital to go overseas and to spend money on not only the woman that they're with, but put themselves up and travel and eat and all that kind of stuff. So let's have a real conversation about a complex answer, and not just seek to throw people out under the bus and try to hurt people's feelings, because it doesn't hurt their feelings. And it's not going to hurt mine when I travel. But so we need to have that type of conversation as to where they're going, and create an environment where they're welcomed, loved, and appreciated. And they're going to, no matter where it is, no matter where that environment is, if they're appreciated, welcomed, and loved, men are going to flock to that particular space. We got to take a look at the court system and why people don't want to get married and what's wrong with that. I've done videos about that again already. I'm not going to rehash that. But you got to take a look at the court system. And as I told my daughter just today, as we had this conversation, guys are determining that the juice is not worth the squeeze. That means that the amount of effort that is put into getting whatever it is that I'm looking for in a relationship, the return on investment is not there. It's not worth the squeeze. You do squeeze an orange, squeeze a lemon, whatever. The amount of juice that you get out from it is not worth the amount of effort that you put in to squeeze it to get it. So I give my daughter the example of the 1950s. What a man was required to do to be eligible to be a mate. That was have a job, and he could work in the factory, at the docks, etc., or in the mines or whatever. And he, in return for his effort, he got a beautiful, more than likely, sweet wife, pumped out 2 or 3 kids, sometimes more, and they lived happily ever after. You fast forward post 1960, 1970, when there were some court cases and decisions that were made to even the playing field, and now the man is still supposed to do everything he was doing before, provide, protect, and all this kind of stuff. But the type of woman that the 1950s woman was, that she knew how to cook, clean, take care of the home, etc., that type of woman isn't around anymore. So why should a man put in the same amount of effort to get a lesser amount of woman? And the answer is, well, they're not providing enough to do that. I've talked before about men. If you're demanding 50-50, you ought to pay, or you ought to provide 50% of the labor, household chores, and all that kind of stuff. I definitely agree with that. I'm not exactly sure that that's the case. I think that, but many times I've run into women, and I'm in my 50s. I've run into women, post my divorce, who said, I don't know how to cook. I go to my mother's house. Yeah, this is out here? All right, and I'm not dating anybody less than 30. I think the youngest I've ever dated was 38. You don't know how to cook. Well, we got nothing to talk about. I mean, what if I said I don't know how to change tires? I don't know how to kill the spiders. I don't know how to cook. I don't know all the stuff I'm expected to do, but you don't have to do that. And I run into women. And look, as soon as I tell a woman I know how to cook, right? Oh, yeah, can you cook for me? Can I cook for you? All right. So listen, I think that this is a problem particularly if we want to, what we're going to do about number one, the black community, number two, the whole U.S. situation. What's going to happen, and you're gonna find more and more men who are just checking out and just going their own way, going monk, going their own way, men going their own way. The red pill. That's why us men, they're doing it. They're just going to do it. They're not going to deal with that because they want the same experience that their fathers and the grandfathers had. I want that. I want that same experience. So where have all the good men gone? This is just some of my thoughts about where all the good men gone. And so let me finish this off by saying here's the last thing I'll definitely say. Where have all the good men gone, and what you should do? You should become the best version of yourself. You should work on yourself, heal from past relationships and trauma, mature, be faithful and honest to your word. If you want a relationship, then stand by your relationship. Don't go around dogging women out. If you don't want a relationship, be upfront and honest about that. Listen, I'm just looking for a good time. I'm not here for a long time. I'm just looking for a good time. Just say it. Just say it. And work on yourself, work on your maturity, work on your game, work on your riz, your ability to speak to women, your social anxieties, work on your finances, get yourself together financially, pull yourself out of any debt, stop trying to date these women if you don't have any money, don't lie, all that type of stuff, right? Work on yourself, become the best version of yourself. I mean that, I stand by that. Become the best version of yourself. So if you do those things, I'm quite sure that there's a lot of things that will begin to change in your life, and there's a lot of doors that'll begin to open. So those are just some of the thoughts that I had about it. Where have all the good men gone? I'll talk to you later. Much love and peace. Make sure you hit that like button. Let me know what your thoughts and your opinions are, and where you think that all the good men have gone. Have they gone overseas? Have they not been made? Have they given up? Where have they gone? Where have they gone?